Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rapid Results with Andrew Weiss. We have an amazing, incredible guest today, Tiffany Guarnaccia. And in case you don't know who Tiffany is, she is the CEO and founder of Kite Hill PR, a B2B tech PR agency. She's also the founder of Communications Week, now part of Ragan Communications, and we are very excited to host her today. Tiffany, tell us, what's the biggest and best PR deal you're most proud of?
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to chat with you and share a lot of insights, tips, and tricks for everything that I've learned, or as much as I can share in this time when it comes to PR and earned media. So I love that you've started with the question of the biggest and best PR deal, because you know what the answer is? Yeah, there's so many wins that I'm proud of. And I have to say, when I think back over the time at being at the helm of Kite Hill PR, which has been 11 years now, we've seen great growth since that time. I'd have to say it's the first deal that I did that I'm most proud of because that enabled me to launch the agency and to grow with the firm that I've had and just really start strong from the very beginning. And that was actually one of the reasons that I started Kite Hill, that I really kept in touch with a lot of people in my network. I always say your network is your net worth. And I went back to someone who took over as CEO of an ad tech company. And at that time, I was the head of communications for the Huffington Post, and I worked with so many amazing people, including Ariana Huffington, and I was telling their stories, and I was really excited to be in that position. But then that first lead and deal came to me, and I knew now was the time. I'd always dreamed of launching a PR agency, and you can't let an opportunity like that pass you by. And that was Pulse Point, which is an ad tech company that we worked with for many years. So I'd have to say that first client deal is the one that I'm most proud of.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so inspiring to hear too. That the fact you worked with so many OGs like Huffington and the Huffington Post. That's so amazing, and just like the fact you've been able to grow your own company and sell companies and just all the things. So I'm definitely excited to learn more from you today. So tell us, I feel like what I've learned is some people say success is 90% mindset and only 10% action. And so what helped you cause the mindset to even like go after these big clients and think big and help them in a powerful way?
Right. That I do believe it's about your mindset. And I've long said that the opportunity in PR is to be constantly be proactive and positive in the mindset that you have. And that's going to help you be successful with your clients when you're thinking about the opportunities that you can tell with the press. And that's also going to help you be successful in business too. If you're thinking, I'm proactive, I'm thinking about some of the opportunities that I have. And even when I have challenges, how can I change those challenges into opportunities? That is tough to do, right? Because we all face challenges and hurdles along the way. So I think that's a big part of it. And just having that mindset overall has really helped me through a lot of those challenges. And of course, in growing a business, there's a lot of growth pain. So how do you overcome that? It's really thinking about taking that challenge and turning it into an opportunity.
And was there any particular books or any kind of like turning points that you would attribute to you having such a strong mindset about things?
Right. Well, when it comes to some of the resources that are online, there are so many things that you can pick up and learn from. So there's a couple of tried and true things that I've picked up along the way that was recommended to me by some of my mentors. So one of my early mentors was also that first PR client that I mentioned. His name is Sloan Gao, and he was the CEO of Pulse Point at the time. And he recommended to me that I read a book called Rocket Fuel. And a lot of those principles are ones that I applied to the business as I look to grow and scale the business and think about who do I need as a part of my team that's going to help propel Kite Hill forward. And that's really being an entrepreneur and building out that team. Your people are your number one asset, regardless of the kind of business that you have. So it's crucial to make the right decisions and structure a leadership team that's going to best support your business. We're an agency and best support our clients. So I'd have to say Rocket Fuel was number one when I was at that growth point of going from an agency, starting out with just me, a laptop and a dream in a co-working space, then quickly in year one getting to 5 people, then up to 10, then up to 25. And that was, when I was really at that past 10 people mark, I really needed to think about the right structure. So Sloan handed me that book. It's called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about having two people at the helm of a company, essentially a visionary and an integrator. And the visionary would be me, right? The CEO. I have a vision for the business, I have the passion, but you need that number two, the integrator, who really helps to think about operations and operational excellence to set you up for success so that you can go through the other phases of growth and support the business as you do.
No, that's a very good point. I think it also reminds me of the book The E-Myth as well, that talks about how like most people think, oh, I'm really good at baking cupcakes. That must mean that I know how to run a cupcake business, but they don't realize how many other things go into business besides just sitting there and baking cupcakes, kind of thing. Um,
Right. And that's
it,
only gotten complicated when you think about the work from anywhere environment. Yes, there's a push for return to office, but many companies, especially like ours, we see it as a competitive advantage to stay remote. So you have to think about the operational challenges that you have along the way. Impact many different parts of the business. And when it comes to people management, that's gotten even more complicated when you think about running in different states and protecting your business in different states. So there's certainly a lot to unpack there. So it helps to have the right team that's focused on that operational excellence.
and how did you figure out that you were able to have that visionary role? Because I feel like, yeah, as you're growing a company, as a startup, as a CEO, like you have to learn how to get things done on top of the visionary. But yeah, how did you help differentiate yourself in that regard, I suppose?
I would say if you're thinking about launching a business, start with your passion. Like, what are you passionate about? And what are you great at? And really lean into your strengths and think about what opportunity lies ahead. I always talk about from there, thinking about, lean into your passions, but think about what your North Star is. And maybe that's something that you've done as you've grown out your own services and think about your own agency and really stay true to that. I've talked to so many women entrepreneurs and very early stage founders where they talk about the overwhelm, right? There's so many things that can come at you. And sometimes it feels like there's so many opportunities, maybe so many shiny objects that you could chase that seem really interesting. And I always say, go back to thinking about your North Star and think about the plan, the tactics, the pieces that get you there, and do those pieces and put everything else on that nice to have list. And it might not be something you're prioritizing right away. And I think that gives everyone a good amount of focus. I love mentoring other folks and other entrepreneurs as well. I actually wrote an ebook about it that's called Modern Mentorship. It's available on the Kite Hill PR website. So if you want, take a look.
No, definitely check that out. Yeah, for those listening in, definitely check out Modern Mentorship, and it's just Kite Hill, KITEPR.com, right?
KiteHillPR.com. That's right.
Okay, awesome. And so, yeah, so I know you were saying earlier how it's so exciting how you started your company with just a laptop and a dream and a co-working space, went from 5 employees to 10 to 25. So for those entrepreneurs and business owners who are thinking about selling their company someday, when you sold your company, what are some things you wish you had learned earlier in that process to make things easier for you, I suppose?
That's a great question. So I always knew my North Star was always to launch a PR agency. So even from my first job, I still talk to my old boss about this today. I went in, she interviewed me for my first position right out of college, and she said, "What's your future vision for yourself? What do you want to do in 10 years?" And I said, I want to work here to get a lot of experience, and then I'm going to go launch my own PR agency. I was that set
Wow, it's good focus, yeah.
in an interview. But I knew that was my North Star, and it was all about understanding the path to get there, which isn't linear, right? There's a career constellation that you might need to shape to get to that North Star. So I wanted to gather a lot of experiences under my belt and get to a certain point. So after I launched Kite Hill, I launched another business at the same time called Communications Week, and both of those supported each other, and was all about my passion for PR in the communications industry. So the mission of Communications Week from the first day and the first founding was to inspire those who are in and interested in the PR industry. And of course, that worked really nicely in supporting Kite Hill PR and became a brand halo for Kite Hill PR overall. So I think that was a big point for us and a great opportunity to feed both businesses. So as you know, I'm still the CEO of Kite Hill PR. And when I started to grow Kite Hill and look at the market and be at the helm of two companies and be a single mom, I thought, what is the right opportunity? What's the right path moving forward? And it's really hard as a founder to think about the next best step when something is a company you founded that is also your baby, right? So I got to the point where I evaluated Communications Week overall and the opportunities in the market. And it was right after the pandemic when events went pretty silent. We restructured the business of Communications Week. We turned everything virtual. We still had a conference that year. We worked with different founders. We had different sponsors. We had great speakers. We got everyone together and made it a moment to celebrate about culture and connection on Zoom. But as I continued to run the business, in the post-pandemic environment, I realized a lot of the event properties were starting to be monetized and take the shape of media companies. So I had to make that decision. Do I start to restructure that business, or is it time for a strategic exit to a media company that is well versed and ready to take Communications Week and scale it to the next level? And that's the tough decision that I made. And it was a fantastic one. I packaged up the business. I talked to some folks, and Ragan Communications was the perfect fit for Communications Week. They have an amazing team who embraced that vision, including their CEO, Diane Schwartz, who's really helped to further the brand of Communications Week and take it to the next level with big events across multiple cities, including one that's coming up in Austin this year in November.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's so inspiring, and thank you for sharing that story and that journey. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about, speaking to entrepreneurs and business owners listening who want to get featured in the press more often and want to get more earned media per se. So tell us, what would you say are the low-hanging fruit of like press opportunities that most companies and startups don't know about to help themselves get featured?
I love that question, and I am passionate about PR. I love the business that we're in. I also know that PR fuels business overall. It really ladders back to business goals. It can help propel you forward when it comes to the work that we've seen with our clients. It's directly fed opportunities and leads for their businesses overall. So one of the things that we recognize is not everyone is ready, depending on the stage of their entrepreneurial journey, to invest in a PR agency. But what they can do is start thinking about maybe a DIY approach to public relations that can help lay the groundwork for their brand and for future opportunities. So that really is about thinking, helping to shape their message within the market, building out that brand for the company, and recognizing as a founder that it also relates back to your personal brand. And then think about the channels that are accessible to you. So it's not going to be the same for everyone. The PR plan is different, just like a business plan. So there's no cookie cutter approach. But what you can do when you think about the opportunity you have right away as a founder, you're going to have that passion for your business. You're going to be an expert in your category, and you're going to see opportunities that other competitors won't. And that's why you started your company. So you can start to channel that and really think about other places like LinkedIn and be consistent in posting and sharing some of those insights. That also ladders back to other journalists and other opportunities. Journalists are people too. They're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Following them, commenting on articles, just showing that you're engaged and thinking about other ways to connect with the media and press overall.
No, I love that. I feel like, because I heard earlier too that journalists, they actually want to be pitched stories. They want to be pitched ideas. Like, you're not quote unquote bothering them. Like, say, hey, just so you know, like I found this research about this topic. I thought you'd find it interesting, kind of thing. It's like, am I correct in saying that journalists want to be pitched ideas and stories?
They want to be pitched relevant ideas and stories.
Yeah.
So that is why it's such a great question, and very insightful to point to that, because that's where I started with really get to know who you're going to connect with. So just because they're in covering climate, for example, they might not be covering climate tech. So there's going to be a short list of the right journalists that are relevant to your company. You should follow them, read their articles, and then don't be afraid to comment and showcase your expertise. But it's all about relevancy.
Oh, it makes sense. No, I love that. And so tell us, and maybe this is a similar answer, maybe it's slightly different. Yeah, and I know you just said like make sure you're posting relevant content, but what else do people get wrong when it comes to being featured in the press?
That's another great question. And one thing that I've seen in the past is a lot of inconsistency in communications, where for many startups, they see PR or communications as a one off investment. It should really be always on. You want to constantly be sharing insights. Think about that always on approach to external communications. It's not just something you invest in once and then disappear. That's actually not something that you want to do. You want to think about consistent communications with all of your audiences.
Oh, it makes sense. I love it. So tell us, and as someone who sounds like obviously you're resilient, you know how to bounce back, you've figured out how to have this strong mindset to keep having a great vision, move forward. But I'm sure you're not, probably wouldn't call yourself perfect, but maybe you do sometimes. Have you had any embarrassing moments or failures in your business journeys over the last few years?
I think you have to aim for progress, not perfection, and that's certainly a lesson that I learned, over the course of being at the helm of a business. Is that initially you want to be perfect in everything, and it's really about the progress that you can make. And there's always going to be challenges, right? But the key thing is how do those challenges become opportunities? I mean, certainly one of the biggest challenges we had was, just steering the business through the pandemic, where really tough time for the business overall. But we reworked a lot of our offerings. We stayed close to clients. We put out what we called the help message and just saw, how can we connect with people and adjust.
Well, it makes sense. Um, and then, yeah, kind of go back to the mindset part too. So, how do you help battle imposter syndrome as well? Like saying, oh, I am worthy of having this big company with all these employees. I am worthy of being able to sell companies and still run these weeks. Like, how do you help battle imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's luckily that has gotten easier over time, and I've really found that a way to do that is just focus on demonstrating your expertise and what is your perspective and how can you own the room from that perspective. So even what I say to some of my team members is when they're in a room with a lot of clients and there's going to be a lot of different opinions and voices, lean into your PR expertise.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. All right, yeah, so we have a few questions left. Is there anything that I haven't asked yet, but you wish that I have asked more about by now?
I think you've asked so many great questions. I think, in some of the points around secrets to success, I do think a question is about values. And one of our core values that's really helped to propel us forward has been agility. So I think that that shapes so many things. It shapes our client campaigns and how I run the business.
Agility, I love that. Yeah, you usually hear core values of like courage and community and things like that, but agility, that's a good one. Um, and then, yeah, you mentioned your favorite books of Rocket Fuel, obviously the book you wrote, Modern Mentorship. Any other books that you want the audience to know about?
I think, those are two great books. And I know you had asked earlier about getting featured in the press and some secrets. There is no silver bullet, but you can also follow our blog. We share a lot of great tips and insights there.
Awesome. And your blog's on kitehillpr.com?
That's correct. KiteHillPR.com.
Perfect. Awesome. And then tell us, what do you believe are the non-negotiable actions as an entrepreneur to be successful?
I would have to say it is follow your passion, stay true to your North Star, and always embrace agility.
I love that. And then three questions left. What's the next end game you're working on, or like your next North Star you're going for?
I would have to say, it's less about an end game. It's more of just continuing to be within the journey of running Kite Hill and enjoying the journey as I move forward.
Perfect. Yeah, enjoying the journey. It's always important. Well, awesome. Yeah, last two questions is how can we best contact you, reach you, get a hold of you, learn more from you? What's the best way the audience can connect with you?
LinkedIn is the best way, and you can find me at Tiffany Guarnaccia on LinkedIn. But then you can also always reach out directly to Kite Hill. It's hello@kitehillpr.com, and be happy to chat.
Perfect. And then what's the one takeaway you want someone to have from this interview today?
I would say follow your passion in being an entrepreneur and staying true to some of the passions that you have, and that will lead to success in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tiffany. Much appreciated for coming on today. Make sure to check out Tiffany on LinkedIn, kitehillpr.com, and yeah, we'll stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.